Mitochondria, powerhouse of the cell. Why it is known as the powerhouse of the cell? Because it produces energy in the form of ATPs. In our previous video, we talked over the different cell organelles present in the cell. In this video, we will go through further study of mitochondria. This is the zoomed image. This is the inner membrane. This is the outer membrane. And this is the cristae. The curves which you are seeing after a small space that are known as cristae. So every living thing is made of cells. Tiny compartments contained by a membrane. Membrane is a layer which covers all the cell organelles and nucleus, that is, it is enclosed by a membrane. Membrane is a covering which encloses cell organelles and the nucleus. Cells are the smallest things that can reproduce themselves. When we look inside cells, we see that they have subcompartments. Subcompartments are known as cell organelles that are smaller still, known as organelles. Organelles are the special components which perform different functions that are essential for the cell to live. So very first we start from what is a mitochondrion. Mitochondrion or mitochondria. A mitochondrion is a round to oval shaped organelle, or you can call them as long tubules. It is just like this. These are the long tubules. Found in the cells of almost all eukaryotic organisms. Eukaryotic means the organisms which have well-defined nucleus. The nucleus, which has a nuclear membrane around it, has a well-defined nuclei, and this can be only seen in eukaryotic organisms. It produces energy known as ATP. ATP stands for adenosine triphosphate. It is also known as the energy currency of the cell. For the cell, through a series of chemical reactions, means energy is released through a series of chemical reactions. Mitochondrial membrane bound organelle found in the cytoplasm of almost all eukaryotic cells. Eukaryotic cells with clearly defined nuclei, that is, well defined nucleus, the primary function of which is to generate large quantities of energy in the form of adenosine triphosphate ATP. So mitochondrion produces large quantities of energy in the form of ATPs. ATP known as the energy currency of the cell. Mitochondria are typically round to oval in shape and range in size from 0.5 to 10 micrometer. Mitochondria are unlike other cellular organelles in that they have two distinct membranes. Membranes means the coverings. And one more thing, they have their own ribosomes and DNA and reproduce by binary fission. Binary fission method is also used by amoeba for reproduction. These features indicate that mitochondria share an evolutionary past with prokaryotes because it reproduces by binary fission, and amoeba is a unicellular organism. It also reproduces by binary fission. The inner surface, this is the zoomed image of mitochondria, and in this ribosomes and DNA are also present. Mitochondria has their own ribosomes and DNA. The outer mitochondrial membrane is freely permeable. Permeable means that it has small holes which permits or gives the passage for the entry and exit of materials throughout the cell. Permeable to small molecules and contains spatial channels. Channels, that is a network capable of transporting large molecules, that is the energy which is produced in the form of ATP is transported. So in this image you can see these are the ribosomes, protein manufacturing site. ATP is synthesized here, the molecules which contain energy. This is the DNA which contains the properties or characteristics inherited from parent cell to daughter cell. This is the inner membrane, this is the outer membrane, and this is the interspace present between the inner and outer membranes. Granules. These are the protein granules. These are also present in plant cells. The number of mitochondria per cell varies. For example, in humans, if we take erythrocytes, red blood cells do not contain any mitochondria, whereas liver cells and muscle cells may contain hundreds or even thousands of mitochondria. The powerhouses of the cell. Why it is called powerhouses? Because the number of mitochondria present in the cell may vary. That's how many people know mitochondria. The parts of cells that turns sugars, fats and proteins that we eat into forms of chemical energy that the body can use to carry on living. So this is what mitochondria, the parts of the cells that turns sugars, fats and proteins that we eat and release chemical energy that can be used by body for living or performing various activities. Mitochondria are organelles found in the cells of every complex organism. They produce about 90% of the chemical energy that cells need to survive. No energy, no life. So it's easy to see why when mitochondria go wrong, serious diseases are the result. And why it is important we understand how mitochondria works. So to produce all of that energy, mitochondria require oxygen. Without oxygen, mitochondria cannot break down the food or burn the food. Mitochondria effectively burn your food in a carefully controlled way to produce that chemical energy by a process called oxidative phosphorylation. And this process takes place in the presence of oxygen. And just as the fire goes out without oxygen, if mitochondria lack oxygen, they also stop working. Means if mitochondria will not get oxygen, it cannot burn your food and energy will not be released. So no energy, no life. So no energy, no life. You have to draw the figure of mitochondria and the other cell organelles which are shown in the figure. You have to draw the diagram of a cell, and here are some serial numbers given. You will name the serial numbers that point out the name of cell organelle, and you will try to write the function also if you are known to that. Thank you.